Lock your doors and put on your tinfoil hats because the new Captain Marvel photos have me thinking that there might be aliens among us. Let's get started. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Hey everybody, my name is Andrew Fantasia. Thank you so much for tuning in. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and give some love to that subscribe button as well. It helps me pay the bills. So the other day I talked about Entertainment Weekly putting out their first look at Captain Marvel, and we were going to get all these photos. And I commented on the cover, but only the cover, because at the time that I was researching for that episode, none of those photos were coming up on Google, like at all. Only the cover. I don't know why. That's just how it worked. But now that I have seen them and taken a look at what we're going to get, now the speculation can start, baby. And what do we have in these photos? Well, we have lots of stuff. We have more of Captain Marvel herself and her costumes and her civilian clothes, and she looks great, and more with Sam Jackson, and he's young and stuff. But what really got me interested was the big reveal of who Ben Mendelsohn is playing. He is playing a Skrull by the name of Talos. Now the Skrulls, I don't know too much about them. All I know is they are green aliens who can shapeshift, so they can look like anybody. You know, the president could be a Skrull, for all we know. It's your very classic, almost B-movie sci-fi kind of body snatcher scenario, and that's what the Skrulls have always been about. So the fact that we're finally getting Skrulls in the MCU in the form of this character has got me thinking, has got me pondering, and I put on my pondering cap, and I'm wondering now, is he the only Skrull that's been hanging around on Earth disguised as a human for all these years? For all we know, there may be more out there. That's the thing with Skrulls, is when you know they're around, it creates a sense of paranoia. You don't know who to trust. Marvel did a story about a decade back. I didn't read it, but I got the gist of it. It was called Secret Invasion, and it was all about that. It was about the Skrulls trying to invade Earth in secret by posing as, you know, big people in Earth, you know, people who were of a matter of importance, and worming their way into our society. So if that is happening in Captain Marvel, which it sounds like it is, it stands to reason that Talos is not the only Skrull who came here looking to stir up some shit. I think there may be more Skrulls waiting in the wings throughout the MCU. So this little video is just going to be a quick countdown, a quick top 5 countdown of people who I think, already existing in the MCU, might possibly be Skrulls. And if any of these are true, then God help us, because this is going to get scary. Here we go. Number 5, Erik Selvig. Selvig was a major player in the first 2 Thor movies, and he showed up in the first 2 Avengers movies as well. Selvig has kind of been there through and through, and he is probably one of Thor's best human friends. I mean, there's Jane Foster, but I mean, nobody even really cares about her anymore. I mean, in Age of Ultron, that's the first person Thor went to when he was looking for answers, was he went to Selvig. And Selvig is not just, you know, he's not just some schmo who just walks down the street. He's a big deal. He's a professor. He's a scientist. He's very intelligent, and he has a lot of big connections. So if a Skrull happened upon this man, they would have thought, here's a guy with connections, a guy with resources, a guy with friends in high places. I'm taking that. Maybe they knocked out Selvig or killed him. Hopefully not, because I like him. And have been posing as him for X amount of time. And if he is the kind of person who gives advice to a superhero, then that right there is a position of subtle but very important power, the kind of power that the Skrulls, in their subtle way of invading Earth, would crave. So that makes him, in my eyes, a very prime target for Skrull assimilation. Number 4, Hawkeye. Now bear with me. We don't know where Hawkeye is right now. He's under the radar. He's in some kind of like witness protection thing, we think. I mean, he's got babies. He's got 2 kids and a baby, his wife, his farmhouse. He's got a life he's trying to live. Now, did that wife and did those babies survive the snap? We don't know that either. Hawkeye is a giant question mark on the face of the Avengers films right now, and we'll obviously learn more come Avengers 4. But remember, Avengers 4 is happening after Captain Marvel, after the Skrulls are introduced. And Hawkeye, we keep forgetting because he's such an under-the-radar dude, but he's an Avenger. He is one of the Avengers, and that's a powerful thing. The Avengers are basically the Earth's protection squad Like, those are the people who are going to stop the Skrulls if the Skrulls come. So why would the Skrulls not want to take one of the Avengers and pose as them? Because now they have an inside man. The only problem with this theory, the only reason why Hawkeye is so low on this list, is because we already got the whole thing in Avengers 1 where he's brainwashed by Loki. So we saw the whole Hawkeye is forced to be a traitor kind of story. Even though this is different because this is somebody who just makes himself look like him. It's been kind of done already. He's been shortchanged enough as it is, the poor guy. I feel like people would be really upset if we found out that, like, the Hawkeye we see in Avengers 4 doing all kinds of cool shit is actually, surprise, a green dude with Spock ears. So maybe they would not want to go that route. But again, like I said, Hawkeye is, of all the main core Avengers, he's the least conspicuous. He's the one that you forget about almost instantly. He blends in. So that would make an ideal Skrull target. Just saying. Number 3, Happy Hogan or Pepper Potts. Basically anybody high up in Stark Industries. Tony Stark himself is so much of a public face, like he's a huge celebrity, that I think it would be too big of a risk if a Skrull tried to pose as him. Because if you get one thing wrong, you know, he's in the public eye so much, if you slip up and say one thing that's out of the ordinary, people are going to notice that shit, and they're going to be like, hey, you notice, you know, Tony Stark, you know, he's allergic to peanut butter, right? Why is he eating that peanut butter cookie? Something's up. They're going to know. People will know because it's Tony Stark. However, Tony Stark's company is one of the most powerful, wealthy, influential companies on planet Earth. So the Skrulls would want to have a little bit of a grip on that. How do you maintain that balance? You go for somebody at the top who's not Tony, somebody who the public doesn't know, somebody like Happy Hogan or Pepper Potts. Tony trusts both of those two people with his life. I mean, one of them is the woman he loves, the other one is arguably his best friend. So those two would be privy to all kinds of information, secret codes. Tony probably has stashes of armor hidden God knows where that maybe they know about. You know, maybe Happy has like a device on his phone where if he types in like 4742, a big thing of armor will come out of the Grand Canyon. Who knows? That's just how Tony Stark works. So if Happy's got access to that kind of thing, or if Pepper's got access to that kind of thing, then all it would take would be for a Skrull to find out that information, take their place, and then be like, well, I got some suits now, bitches. I am Iron Man. And so are my 50 Skrull friends who just came to join the party. They're all Iron Skrulls now. Hi, Earth. How you doing? Terrifying. Number 2, Nick Fury. This is a big one, I know. S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't exist anymore, as far as we know. At least not in the capacity that it once did. We can thank Hydra for that. Hail Hydra. But Nick Fury still carries a level of power. I mean, he's still so powerful and so in control of everything that he literally has a beeper that he just types in as like, hey, Captain Marvel, come back from whatever planet you're shooting lasers on and come help us. I feel like not a lot of people would have access to that kind of beeper privilege, you know? He's the kind of guy who amasses powerful allies and sort of has them at his beck and call. And that's something the Skrulls would absolutely want. Even with S.H.I.E.L.D. no longer in the picture. The Skrulls are not stupid. They can see this guy he still holds so much sway with all these intergalactic superpowered characters. I mean, who else does Nick Fury have on that beeper? Is that beeper strictly just to call Captain Marvel, or are there other numbers in there? Is the Fantastic Four's number in there? Maybe. That depends on how fast Disney's lawyers work. But he might have a whole Rolodex in that thing of people we haven't even heard of yet who are willing to come when he calls and help his ass out. And if a Skrull poses as Nick Fury and says, hey, Captain America, there's a kid inside that burning orphanage, you better go save him, Captain America's going to be like, anything you say, let's go. And he'll run into that orphanage, and then the Skrull will be like, blew up the orphanage and no more Captain America. It could be that easy if they had access to Nick Fury. And because he was the one who put the Avengers together in the first place, the idea of him being the one who shatters them is kind of poetic in a way. Sad, but poetically sad. Like an Enya song. Finally, the number 1 person who might be a Skrull, Maria Hill. Now, I hope this is not true, because I love Maria Hill. But, again, she has so much access. She's right up there with Nick Fury. She's his right-hand woman. She probably has 99% of the clearance that he does. And again, she is, like Hawkeye, under the radar. Nick Fury is a bit more known. If Nick Fury walks into a government building, somebody's probably going to scope him out and be like, hey, that's that guy who, he's the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and he knows a lot of superheroes. I mean, the guy has a friggin' eye patch. He stands out in a crowd. Maria Hill just looks like a normal woman. You know, she's just there by his side. She could be like just security detail for all anybody knows. She could be anybody. So she has that more chameleon-like presence. She can walk into a public space in her civilian attire and not draw attention to herself and not be recognized for who she actually is and what she actually does, while at the same time having a lot of the same control and pull that Nick Fury has. So the Skrulls could look at this woman, who by the way has been there throughout the Avengers' adventures. She's friends with the Avengers. She was there when they teamed up. She was at Tony Stark's little party there when Ultron attacked. Like, she's right there in the thick of it with them. They could look at this woman and say, there is our foot in the door. There is our connection to S.H.I.E.L.D., Fury, all the heroes he has on his beeper, the Avengers themselves, the weapons that S.H.I.E.L.D. confiscated from the Chitauri and all that shit. That's all at Maria Hill's fingertips. And again, she's so lucky in that she has the ability to sort of move through the MCU almost anonymously. And that, to me, would be the greatest secret weapon the Skrulls could have in their arsenal. If I was in Vegas and I had to place my money down on some odds, and I could only pick one person in the MCU who may have been overtaken and mimicked by a Skrull at some point, my money is right there on Kobe Smulders. I'm on to you, Skrull Rhea Hill. I know what you're doing. As long as Maria herself is still alive, because I love her and I don't want her to die. That's what would make me sad. If Captain America and Iron Man die, I'll be like bummed and I'll be like, wow, this is tragic, whatever. But if Maria Hill dies, no, I don't want that. But those are my crazy, paranoid, tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist picks for who in the MCU might have been a Skrull all along, or a Skrull for a great period of time. Maybe I am just a wacko who's speaking out of my ass. Maybe there's some merit to one of these ideas. But what do you think? Do you think somebody is a Skrull besides Ben Mendelsohn? And if so, who? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Tell me who, tell me why, tell me when, tell me where. Give me your theories. Let's hear them. If this is what Phase 4 is going to look like, that's going to make things very, very interesting. Anyway, my name is Andrew Fantasia. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you here next time. Until then, adios.